Howdy folks, it's Astrid again with roseanddaggersoundworks. This is your second month in the Unofficial Acoustic Winter of 25-26. I've shown you the bad and the ugly, which for those of you with keen eyes is right back there. Today it is time for the good. This is actually my main acoustic that you've seen on both my other channels at this point. It has yet to feature on this one because frankly I've had nothing wrong with it. But this is a Greg Bennett Dreadnought non-electrified, which is of note for our current project. Non-cutaway, obviously. Great sounding guitar. It's a mahogany. It, has a out of tune, obviously, but just to give you some idea of the tone there. I want to preserve that tone while I electrify it. So I did a bunch of research actually a year or two back now when I was looking into electrifying this before my business started. And it was a hard search to narrow down. There's a lot of good options out there to electrify an acoustic guitar. Frankly, there's very few of them you can go wrong with. What I settled on, however, because I just liked the sound of it, it was as pure to the natural instrument as possible, is called the LR Baggs Lyric. This is not a traditional piezo element. As I understand it, it's not piezo at all. It is a actually small microphone. And opening this thing up, you will see it is very small. Like, there's my finger for comparison. This is the actual element that's going to sit underneath my bridge plate there. This is the element that's going to sit inside of my sound hole. And then, of course, we've got the Endpin jack, which I will need to ream out a hole for. That's going to be probably the most work of the entire project. And then inside of here, we've got a bag that will hold a 9-volt battery because these things need batteries for preamps. There are a few systems out there that don't. There is a Schaller Oyster system, which was a strong contender, which can be run as a passive pickup system, can actually be combined with electric guitar pickups, but that's not what we're talking about here today. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take this out of our packing material because I don't think we want to amplify the cardboard. And then we're going to have to pull that through. So, and then of course we've got our 9-volt battery lead here, and then we have our little Velcro bag to hold the 9-volt battery. Now, because it's entertaining to know what I'm ignoring, I'm going to go ahead and open the instructions to this. Important, adjust the mic presence control for each guitar with this tool. It does have a trim pot, I guess, which is probably going to adjust the kind of high frequency air frequencies, is what's typically referred to as presence. Less is minus, more is plus. Pretty self-explanatory there. If it lacks clarity in top end, increase the mic's presence by turning the control clockwise. Back it off. Okay, yes, that's exactly what I was saying it was. And of course you've got the volume control, which does what it says on the tin. We've got this little, I assume this little tool, other than for skewering small Romans, is going to be to line up the Endpin jack when we're installing that. Whether or not that's actually needed, I don't know. Usually you can just kind of go in through the sound hole and get these things pretty easily on something like a Dreadnought anyways. I have worked with classical guitars and their sound hole is enough smaller, it's difficult getting the arm in. So be aware if you're working on classical or other types of acoustic that your mileage may vary on that. So anyways, first thing I'm going to do to get access to this is I'm going to loosen all my strings. I am not going to take them out of the bridge because for one thing I don't have a new set of strings to put in there. So I'm just going to reuse the old ones, which are fairly new. And for another thing, getting the pins out and getting the strings out, if you can avoid doing it, avoid doing it. It's one of the things that sold me on my Breed Loves is that they are a bridge pinless design so that you don't have to worry about shit like that, stuff like that. Sorry, algorithm. and I'm just putting a towel on my guitar to protect it against any rebounding strings, because they can be vengeful little SOBs. So we'll obviously go ahead and fast forward this a bit. The strings on here, incidentally, are the coated strings. I'm trying to remember what brand I think they're Elixirs. Elixir Phosphor Bronze. And they are great strings. I was very skeptical about coated strings for a while because, you know, what's it going to do to the feel? What's it going to do to the sound? I find it does nothing but either preserve or improve, as well as significantly increasing the string life, which is a plus. Okay, so now I'm going to do my usual when I unstring a guitar, just kind of lightly take a cloth and just dust that off. Funny story about this instrument, I did not want another acoustic when I bought this. I did not want a black acoustic because frankly everybody I knew uses a black acoustic, and you know, no offense to Johnny Cash, but I have black guitars. Particularly the state it came in, you almost couldn't tell it was black. And if I can find a picture of it before, I'll put it up. Long story short, my friend Pete from across the country had sold me originally a electric, which is a SG-shaped object that I kind of jumped on board because it had a custom paint job that I really was inspired by and wanted to do something with. It was a Greg Bennett guitar. It had belonged to his brother, who had kept it in a closet. Similar story with this one. Obviously, it was looking worse for the wear. It was a straight acoustic I wasn't really in the market for, but the price was right, so I took a chance on it. Ordered a case on Amazon to ship it over there, so we had something to ship it to me in. It was a whole ordeal, but long story short, I picked up this guitar for a song, no pun intended, and it's a really nice guitar. In its day, it was not an expensive instrument. Greg Bennett these days has gone on to making more high-end acoustics, and I believe they're entirely out of the electric game. But this was when the company was under the Samick umbrella, and so they were being made fairly cheaply overseas. This probably would have been about a $400 instrument when it was sold new. Anyways, I cleaned it up, kind of fell in love with it, and it became my main acoustic. So I'm really glad I made that purchase. So the next thing I'm going to do while we got the strings off is I'm just going to slap some oil on this fretboard. And I find there are lots of fancy lemon oil type of things for this application that are specifically designed for guitars. I find just about any type of oil works pretty well. I probably wouldn't use engine oil, particularly used. But other than that, I've used olive oil, I've used rose oil, all with great success. Today I am using Jasmine Oil, which is not exactly the best use of it, but it's what I have on hand that I don't cook with. So I'm just going to liberally streak down the fretboard with that, and then I'm just going to kind of polish it into there. And you'll see already how much color it's bringing out in that rosewood, which is pretty thirsty. It's been a while since this guitar was unstrung, so it's been a while since this fretboard was dealt with. So I'm going to let that sit in, and I'm probably going to hit it with another dose before I string it back up. If you've got a dead looking fretboard or a scratchy fretboard or, you know, even a dead sounding fretboard, try this. It's something that you're never going to go wrong with. It might not do what you want it to do, but at the very least it's going to make it look prettier. Incidentally, I don't know if y'all can see it here. Try to get it up to my camera that's higher resolution, but there is some figuring on the back of this instrument, which you obviously can't see except on the inside because it's black on the back as well. So that was a kind of nice chunk of mahogany that they painted all over. Don't know what the top looks like. Maybe it's a similar story, but I know that that is a solid mahogany top, as well as the sides and the back on this. So they didn't skimp. So I am going to need to probably first thing would be to remove this Endpin. I believe this is a plastic Endpin that I'm replacing here, which is kind of, you don't see that too often. I'll verify that once I've got this off of here. And I'm undecided, since I did end up mounting a second bridge pin on the neck already. Yeah, this is plastic, so I'm probably not going to reuse that. I'm going to stick it in my box of curiosities for later. As you can see, I've already gotten pieces of several instruments in this one. And we'll put it in with our black end pins because if I end up needing a few bridge pins and a strap button for something that requires that black, then I've got it made. But the other one that I put on here was kind of a regular silver job. The new one is this kind of cool bronzy color on the end pin, which, you know, is not silver, but, you know, I like it. You're going to see it more than you see the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and unthread this all. So I'm just opening up my containers so I can put in an empty compartment all of my pieces that go on the end here, starting with the actual strap button piece. That will go there. Then we've got our standard nut, of course, that we will be putting on underneath that strap button, and the associated washers, because one has to have washers. So see, that's the one associated with the end pin. So this other one, I'm going to take these two washers off as well because they're loose. The other one I'm just going to kind of thread down for now, just to get it out of the way. So I am just going to carefully get myself over to the butt of this guitar. Yes, I said the thing. Clean through. And actually this little plastic spear I poked fun. Get it? Poke. You know, it'd be great fun to use in a cocktail or something like that, but it is actually fairly useful for getting these things properly threaded through, and I think that's probably a good depth for it too. So let's just go ahead and put our external hardware on here. Get this at least clamped into position so that I can get my aching arm out of here. Okay, that should be sufficient. Now we'll just go ahead and thread this nice little pretty bronze piece over it. And that's our externals done after we do a little bit of dusting off. Next thing I'm going to do contains chemicals, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that. Oh, and here is my adhesive for the sound hole thing. Okay, that makes sense. And I've got a couple extra if I need to replace. Let me actually just look this up real quick, because I know what I would do with it. Out of the underside of the guitar soundboard, specifically on the bridge plate. Let's see if I have an image. Okay, so it looks like it's right in front of the pins, essentially under the front part of the, no, toward the X. Yeah, that's under the front part of the bridge where we want this, and about centered. So I should be able to kind of feel that out. So just test fitting this for the moment. I rest that against the bridge pins. I don't want to rest it against. I want it to be just in front of, but so let's see how wide that is compared to the bridge pins. It is a little narrower. All right. Well, I'm just going to peel off the adhesive here, and then we'll see if we can get a good stick on this. That's the tricky part about these sound plate transducers. I love them. They tend to eliminate that kind of quacky piezo sound that you get from under the saddle pickups. But placing them can be a challenge. So I've got my bridge pins there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be right about there. That actually feels pretty good. I know you can't see this, and I'm sorry, I don't have an endoscope or anything, so there's not much to show. But basically what I have done is I have lined this up about centered with the bridge pins, which is give or take about 1/4 to 1/2 inch shy on either side. And I've moved it forward to where it's clear of the pins. So we're talking a little bit forward of the saddle as far as the placement goes. It's going to be a pretty straight path from the strings to the pickup as far as that goes. But this is supposed to pick up the entire soundboard, and based on what I've heard, I'm disinclined to disbelieve that. So, I'm using fancy words. So this is going to fit just like that inside of the sound hole, or we could move it back. But yeah, I'm going to sit it about in the center there. So let me just go ahead and peel and stick one of these sticky tapes here. And again, we do have an extra in the package for those of you that are trying this at home. So if you don't get it right the first time, you hopefully get it right the second time, or you have to cut your own damn sticky tape. So we're just going to take that, we're going to press it right onto the appropriate surface there, and just give it a good firm stick. The last thing we want is this popping out and falling into the cavity, because then we have to take all the strings off to address that. Then we will try to peel this, we'll peel this top layer off, like so, and then we will line this up and just, hang on, just stick that down right there, up and out of the way. So visually speaking, there's not much separating this guitar as before and after. Next, we are going to want to address our battery bag, which is under all this crap somewhere. Here we go. So this, I believe, is designed to sit up on the, I think actually what I'm going to do, and this may be their intent, I think I'm going to stick it underneath this, I don't know what you call it, but there's a fretboard extension. Almost think of it as a neck extension that runs underneath the end of the fretboard here. And actually, if you want to see that, you can check out my video on that guitar there. I've completely exposed it and used it as a place to put my fingers. But in any case, if I stick that there, what if I stick it under here, though? That's going to get in the way of the braces. Yeah, that may be the place to stick it then. This is the drawback to this system, is that, and I think I may be able, if I stick it just kind of up toward the top here, or maybe toward the bottom. Stick it toward the top, I think. Well, no, I'll put it toward the bottom. And my hope is that when this is mounted in there, and I've got this little Velcro closure here, that I can pop that open and take the battery in and out without having to unstring the instrument or loosen the strings at all. But we'll see how that plays out in real life. I'm going to stick the battery in before we do anything as far as strings go, but I'm just going to kind of stick that, if you can see it here, right kind of toward that area. Yeah, I think that should work well. So next thing I'm going to do is get a battery, because as you do, you tend to need such things for battery powered systems. Go figure. So we'll stick that battery in there. This is a brand new battery, so I don't need to check it. If you're doing an install like this, folks, don't cheap out. Use a new battery, just in case. Okay, see, here's where it's a little problematic. Yeah, I might have to loosen strings to get this to... It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like it's going in all the way. Why is it not going in all the way? Okay, there we go. I'm wondering if I can just clean that up with a bit of tape. Yeah, I think I'm going to take a bit of tape, and I think I'm going to stick that down to the brace or something so that it doesn't, so that I don't get a bunch of dangling cords ruining my view of things. So I've discovered this trade secret that only luthiers know about, and this is called duct tape. It's really strong tape. So if you're a luthier, it's only, you're not allowed to use this if you're not a luthier. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But why is it called duct tape? Well, wouldn't you like to know? We could tell you, but then we'd have to kill you. So we're going to take this piece of luthier duct tape here, and we're just going to gather up our main bundle of wires inside of there. And again, I apologize, I have no endoscope or anything. If you feel like buying me an endoscope, please check out the Patreon, buy me a coffee links, etc. Purchase my music, whatever. But for now, this is what I'm operating with. So I'm just sticking that down basically to the top bar of the X-brace here. So I'm going to try to show that to you. I don't know if you can make that out inside of there. I think you can kind of see the edge of it. But I just stuck that down so I don't have a bunch of wires in my sound hole. That's entirely aesthetic. It's not going to affect how the instrument performs. Now, next time you see me, I probably will have changed clothes. That's not because I've run into a bunch of problems off camera. It's just because I'm on a limited time frame. I'm getting this pickup installed so that I can use it at rehearsal this evening. So if I don't make the sound demo today, then I will probably make it tomorrow or over the weekend. But in any case, you'll be getting an accurate picture of this LR Baggs Lyric, which is probably why you clicked on this video to begin with. Hey there, so I have set up a comparison here. I have my Rode NT-1, which is my go-to room mic. This is a very nice large diaphragm condenser mic. We'll give you kind of a comparison to a studio quality mic setup. And the other thing that I'm running through is I'm just coming directly out of this and into Logic. I'm going to try to do as little post-production as I can. If I do any, I will let you know. Let's get started. Anyways, this has been the demo of the LR Baggs lyric system. I have been Astrid. This has been Rose and Dagger Soundworks. Till next time.